Suggestions. I keep like waving this around. It took me a minute to figure that out, by the way. My dumbass. I was talking about Christmas. Was it what the fuck video was that? Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books I have read recently. I don't think there are... Oh, there is a DNF. Many of these are novellas also that I've read recently. The first one is indeed a novella, and this was actually a NetGalley e-arc that I got. And of course, I did not write down, and I cannot recall right now when this book comes out. Let me see, maybe it's on Storygraph. It actually does say April 11th, 2023, so I believe that is the publication date, and the book is Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. Don't mind my tablet making weird noises. I got myself a tablet so that I don't have to like have my whole computer anytime I'm doing this. I can just use my tablet and look at that. But it's fucking noisy and I don't know why. This is the first tablet I've ever owned. It's a Samsung and like it makes noises when I turn it on and I have no idea why. At any rate, yeah, this is just a standalone novella that Fonda Lee put out kind of in between. She's working on another, I think, full-length like novel trilogy, a series at any rate, and she just kind of had this idea, and I believe she said her editor was like, hey, put out a novella. The premise is we're following a girl named Esther, and her family was torn apart when a manticore killed her mother and baby brother, leaving her with nothing but her father's painful silence and a single overwhelming need to kill the monsters that took her family. Esther's path leads her to the King's Royal Mews, where the giant rocks of legend are flown to hunt manticores by their brave and dedicated Rookers. I think that's how you would say Rookers? Paired with a fledgling rock named Zara, Esther finds purpose and acclaim by devoting herself to a calling that demands absolute sacrifice and a creature that will never return her love. The terrifying partnership between woman and rock leads Esther not only on the Empire's most dangerous manticore hunt, but on a journey of perseverance and acceptance. I kind of just wanted to read this. I mean, the premise sounded cool, but also Fonda Lee, all I've read of hers is the Greenbone Saga. I think that's all she's put out. I say all, like they're not long-ass novels. But you get what I'm saying. I don't believe she has like a bunch of backlists. Maybe she's done short stories and collections or something, but I just wanted to see if I generally liked Fonda Lee's writing, not just in the Greenbone series. And I did really like these characters, Esther, the main character, and there is a secondary character named Darius, and I liked him too. Obviously, it's not quite as in-depth with character work as a full-length novel would be, but I still felt like even for a novella, I really got to know Esther in particular, obviously, and just showed me a really good picture of who they each were, Darius included. The world wasn't necessarily the most expansive world, but it was cool, and I liked learning about the rocks and the manticores, and the kind of just the relationship between the Rookers and the rocks was really cool. Like, they are literal beasts that can kind of be tamed and trained. Why did my lighting just like get brighter? What the hell? Am I crazy or is my tripod flickering? It just got hella bright, I feel like. At any rate, yeah, just that whole dynamic of like, this is a literal wild animal that like, I'm kind of training and taming a little bit, but also it is still a wild animal. I really liked that. Literally, what is happening with this fucking... I hope it's not too noticeable. It probably isn't at all, and you guys are gonna be like, Joshana, shut the fuck up. The writing, I really enjoyed the writing a lot, actually. This definitely makes me more excited, even than I would have been already, for her next novel, full-length series. Like, I'm very, very excited. She's just a very efficient and evocative writer, I find. It's not like she's particularly flowery or descriptive or overly descriptive or anything. And it's not even, I don't know how to describe it. It's more the dynamics, the relationship dynamics. I think she is very good at exploring that and explaining it and expressing it, to have some alliteration there. For the plot and the pacing, I thought the pacing was really good. I mean, because I liked the characters and the world, like I wanted more, but not in the way that I often feel with novellas. If you've been here for a minute, you know that a lot of times, like it's pretty rare for me to come across a novella that just hits all the way and I just really love it all the way through. A lot of times I end up feeling like it feels incomplete. And it's possible to have a novella that feels complete and a full story and everything where you still want more, but like, no, this was good on its own. You know, Ring Shout is my prime #1 example for that. But I felt like this was also, like I wanted more just because I liked it, but I felt like it was a full, complete story on its own. And I think she did a really good job with that. There was like a big thing that happens that was a bit anticlimactic. She's so good with foreshadowing of like building up, like just a quick little line where you're like, oh shit, something's gonna happen. Like talking about like Esther's friends and their relationship and just foreshadowing that some shit goes down to damage this relationship or these friendships, and just kept kind of like peppering these little lines in where I was like, oh God, something is gonna happen. But then when the thing happened, like it was a big deal, but it was a little bit anticlimactic. I guess I was expecting a lot more drama between the characters. Like the thing that happened was a big deal, and I get like why it would strain a relationship, but it wasn't like a lot of interpersonal drama, and I guess I was expecting that. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it makes me very excited for more full-length novels from Fonda Lee and whatever this new series is that she's working on. Like, can't fucking wait. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. Very, very solid all the way around for me. And then, per some of your suggestions, I keep like waving this around the fucking pen, I'm sorry. But it's just like there, you know, and I talk with my hands a lot. I guess it's no different. There's just a thing in my hand now. But in one of my last videos, one of my more recent videos, I was talking about Christmas. What the fuck video was that? Where I was talking about reading, like wanting to, I think it was my haul, because I got the Merry Little Meet Cute. Yeah. And I was saying like recommendations for more little cute holiday rom-coms, because I do like those. When I don't typically like contemporary romance, but if it's like, you know, the holiday movie style, like holiday themed rom-com, love it. And several people recommended Jackie Lau and the Holidays with the Wongs series, which once I looked it up, I was like, oh yeah, I have heard people talk about this. So I decided to start it. And the first one is A Match Made for Thanksgiving by Jackie Lau. So contemporary romance, all of these 4 novellas are based around the holidays. The Wongs are a family. There's grandmother, grandfather, and then their son, and then his wife. And then they have 4 children who are all adults. So there's these 4 siblings. All of the family elders, the parents and the grandparents, want to set up the siblings because none of them are married, and this is a travesty to the elders in the family. So in this one, they set up a date for each of the siblings for Thanksgiving, for Canadian Thanksgiving. Took me a minute to figure that out, by the way. My dumbass. I knew they were in Canada because they were talking about Toronto and whatnot, and like being in Toronto and this and that. But then like the timeline of events, they were talking about October, and then like later talking about like it's been this amount of time since we met. But I'm like, they met at Thanksgiving. What? And then I'm like, but then it was October. And then it took me a second to be like, Canadian Thanksgiving. Stupid ass. But anyways, Canadian Thanksgiving, they set them all up. And the second oldest sibling, Nick, he lives in Toronto, and he's like a playboy, living this like lavish, lives in a penthouse, marketing executive or some shit, and just like does not want to settle down at all. And he's not like a fuck boy. Like, he's very honest and upfront with all the women he sees, that he is definitely not looking for anything serious, and he's very like transparent, and he doesn't lead them on or anything, but he's just not trying to find a serious relationship. And when he shows up to this Thanksgiving, his older brother is matched with a girl named Lily, who is Nick's most recent one-night stand that he cannot stop thinking about. So things ensue, and there we go. I thought the characters here were really endearing. Nick and Lily were super cute, and I thought they had a fair amount of chemistry together that like I believed and I could see on page. And the Wong family was super fun. And I also really liked Lily's family. We only got to see it's her mother and her sister. We only got to see them for a hot second, but I liked them a lot. And I kind of hope they come back, her sister in particular. We'll see. I really liked the writing. It was a very quick read. I literally read it in one sitting. It's like 100 pages or something. And the spicy scenes were fun and not like cringy, corny or anything like that to me. Not necessarily like the spiciest. We're not getting like real kinky, I guess. But they were like sexy and, you know, it wasn't like closed door or anything like that. And yeah, I thought it was a fun time. Again, it was super fast, obviously. You don't get a lot of time to get to know the characters, but for what it was and what it was doing, I thought it worked. I did think the characters were a bit too gung-ho with like jumping straight into a very, very serious relationship. Like, these are two people who are maybe not necessarily super ready. And it's, you know, you find the person and fine, okay, whatever. I guess it's like the romantic fantasy of it all. Fine. But I'm like, you guys just met and they're like talking about moving in together like a couple months later. And I was like, but maybe I'm just jaded. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. Not like my favorite thing I've ever read, but it was cute and it was fun. Like I said, for what it was doing, I thought it worked. And then the one DNF that I have to talk about is ending up being a series DNF, Their Vampire Queen. There are 6 core books in the series, and they're like novellas / some of them are like 300 pages, so they're just shorter novels. I read the first 3, and the third one I enjoyed. I was like, okay, fun. But there was like one part of it that was kind of annoying me towards the end, but I just kind of didn't think about it too much because I figured like, oh, that'll get sorted out. And it didn't. Right in the first couple chapters of this 4th one, Queen Takes Rook, this thing was happening. And these are paranormal, romance, vampires, whatever. And it's like very polyamorous. We have the queen who has her blood, which are like sworn bodyguards, basically. They're sworn to protect her and obey her and whatever. And she sleeps with all of them, and they all sleep together. So there's a lot of like bloody vampire orgies happening. And she's got like 7 dudes at this point that are her blood. And then she goes, and in the 3rd one, it's called Queen Takes Queen. There is a queen, another queen, that like, they end up, I won't like spoil anything, but like, they end up developing some kind of a relationship, a working relationship, but also ends up being sexual. And she's all like turned on and she has some sexual relations with this other queen, but then is like very territorial and very like, my 7 men that I like watching sleep with each other, and like we all fuck each other. I watch them fuck each other. I let them touch each other. Like she's not possessive of them individually, right? But then she's very possessive of them with this woman. Like with all the other men, no problems. We all just love each other and it's great. But then with this woman, she doesn't want her to see her blood naked or to touch their bodies at all. And they cannot touch the other woman. They cannot see the other woman naked. And she is like adamant about it. And I feel like you could argue that like, oh, it's because she's another queen, not just like a blood. And so it's like, ooh, the protectiveness. But she's banging her and like getting all, and the queen is like in love with her and telling her like, I adore you. I like the same way the blood feel about her. And it just didn't make sense to me. It felt, I guess it bugged me because it felt like, oh, we're polyamorous until another woman is involved. And then like women pitted against women. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just kind of bugged me. And maybe it changed later on, but I wasn't necessarily loving these books either. They were like 3.25-ish reads, like fun, quick, smutty times, but nothing mind-blowing. And like not a lot of plot happening. And I'm halfway through the series and there's just not much plot, which is fine if that's what you're looking for, right? But I was like, I kind of want a little bit more plot. So I just decided to give up. I just wasn't loving it at that point. So then I picked up the next Jackie Lau in the Holiday with the Wongs series, which was A Second Chance Road Trip for Christmas. This one is following the oldest son, Greg, who was the one in the first book that got paired up with Lily, who was Nick's girl. And this one is for Christmas. So the eldest sibling, Greg, he is going to be driving home from Toronto by himself until his mom tells him he actually has to pick up his ex-girlfriend, who also lives in Toronto, and drive her back home. Ex is from high school. What should be a few hours long car trip turns into an overnight stay in a motel with no heat and one bed in the one last bedroom because of a snowstorm that shuts down like all the roads. And this is a kind of like a grumpy sunshine. He is very, not even grumpy, kind of. He's just like grunting all the time. Very quiet, very closed off, very serious, and just super serious. I mean, just the most serious man who just doesn't even know really how to have fun. And his ex, and this is from like 15 years ago that they dated for like 3 years. And they were like in love, and the only reason they broke up was they were both at separate colleges and didn't want to like impede on the other person's experience at college, and, you know, didn't want to like, neither one of them wanted to ask the other one to like move and like stop going to the program they were in. They're both science nerds basically, but she's like a lot more fun and like silly and all this. So they're kind of grating on each other's nerves a little bit at first, and things ensue. I didn't buy their chemistry quite as much as Nick and Lily's, but that also might just be because Greg as a character is not a very charismatic person, but Tasha like knows him and sees him for who he is, you know, and likes him. And I'm wondering if maybe that was why like I didn't feel their chemistry as much, because so much of it was like built in from their previous relationship or something. And I mean, same as the first one with the writing and everything, is a super quick, super fast read. I read it in like one sitting. It was cute. Didn't hate it. Little bit of spicy times that were not super, you know, in detail, and not super hot, not like all kinky or whatever, but they were fun. They were cute. So I ended up giving this one 3.25 stars. A little bit less enjoyable than the first one. And then another little Christmas kind of novella, right? Yeah, I think it's a novella. Oh no, it says a novel. Very short though. The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews. I got this from the library, hence the shiny ass thing. Contemporary again, kind of a heartwarming small town holiday thing. We have Ivy, who is recently divorced and randomly bought this house in this tiny ass little town, moving from Atlanta, Georgia. And she bought the house sight unseen. It's an old, like 100-plus-year-old farmhouse. Upon arriving and seeing the house, she sees that it needs a little bit more work than anticipated. The previous owners left a lot of furniture and also family memorabilia that they didn't want, including a Santa suit that had a little note in the pocket from a little girl that really touched Ivy and made her want to find the little girl to see if she got her Christmas wish, which was for her father to come home from the war. So as she is kind of setting out to get everything with her house settled and fixed, and also to investigate who this little girl was and what happened with her, she begins making new friends and finding some more hope and faith in Christmas that she had lost. Ivy was nice and endearing. She was a perfectly fine main character to follow. The local folks she became friends with also were, you know, nice, enjoyable, whatever. Not super deep, but they didn't need to be, nor probably should they be in a story like this. So because it was a bit surface level, like I wasn't super invested in any of the relationships. For the atmosphere of it though, I definitely felt the kind of cute, cozy, small town holiday vibes, the Hallmark movie vibes. They were all there for sure. For the plot, I did put a note that coming from a tiny town myself, they said in this that I think it was like 1,800 people in the town, or something like that. My small hometown I came from is like 1,500 people, less than 2,000. And I found it pretty hard to believe that someone, without spoiling anything, that someone would not know their grandfather's name and not know that he still lives in this town. And a couple other times too, where like people in the town, not that you literally know every single human being's name in the town, but like pretty prominent people that I'm like, I feel like they would know that. And then there's like one random ass character who doesn't matter, this isn't like spoilery, who's like doing a side hustle of like doing plumbing work and stuff on the side outside of his normal job that his wife doesn't know about, because the reason he has the job is to support and pay child support for his ex-girlfriend's baby that is his baby that his wife doesn't know about, and that girl lives in the same town and lives on the other side of town, and he bought a house for her. And I was just like, ain't no fucking way his wife wouldn't know. Everyone in town, and everyone clearly knew that like he did this on the side, and like, ooh, just don't. I'm like, his wife would find out. Like, there is no motherfucking way his wife wouldn't know that he bought a house for this bit. Like, whatever. But, you know, all in the name of like cute holiday Hallmark feels, right? So it's whatever. Just a little bit of suspension of disbelief that I couldn't quite do, being like, that's weird to me that you wouldn't know this. And like several times where people like, oh, that person, I didn't know about them. And I'm like, what? Yes, you would. But anyway, it was a cute and quick read. I ended up giving this 3.25 stars. It was like a middle of the road, but like slightly above middle of the road. And then I did my annual reread of City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm not going to get all super into it, but if this is your first time seeing me talk about this, this is my favorite book of all time, I would say. I read it for the first time in 2019, I think the year it came out. And I just fell in love with it immediately. It's historical fiction. It is set in the 1940s. We are following a girl from kind of upper middle class, very WASP, you know, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, but like a very WASPy upbringing. And she's kind of flailing a little bit, failed out of college, just kind of doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. And her parents are kind of like, we're sick of you. Go spend the summer, go move into the city, into Manhattan with your Aunt Peg, who runs a theater, a playhouse that is a very like off Broadway little podunk kind of janky theater. And yeah, so she's 19 years old, Vivian Morris, and she goes there and starts getting a little bit more freedom and perhaps not making great choices with it. The premise, though, is the very beginning. She gets a letter from a woman younger than her who's like, hey, my mom has passed away. I was wondering if you could now tell me who you were to my father who passed away before. And Vivian is like, I can't tell you who I was to him, but I can tell you who he was to me. And so this is the story of who this woman's father was to Vivian. But the first half of it is taking place all like in a year, where she's at the playhouse and just living the fun little theater life, gallivanting around town, just living it up for the first time. And then there's an incident that happens that changes kind of the course of her life a bit, of just who she is as a person and like her personal development as a human. And then the rest of it is the rest of her life, and she's kind of like going more quickly through that to explain all of that. And I fucking love it. I just love it. Elizabeth Gilbert's writing, I like all these tabs. This is a fraction of this time around. I went and I like annotated, and I mean, I just was underlining. I had to stop from underlining every single line that like made me laugh or chuckle or like, oh God, who describes things like that? Because I would underline like everything. I would underline everything. And every time I read this, I fall more and more in love with Aunt Peg. My God, she's so fucking funny. I can't even stand it. And I just really like the kind of exploration of like this young, dumbass, naive, very privileged girl. And now she's older and reflecting back on like how dumb and naive and privileged she was and like how stupid she was. And like classism definitely is a thing. I mean, feminism for sure, and just like sexual liberation in general. But just, yeah, like all the times where she's just like, I was an idiot. I mean, the book opens, I mean, there's like the little prologue thing. And then chapter 1, in the summer of 1940, when I was 19 years old and an idiot, my parents sent me to live with my Aunt Peg, who owned a theater company in New York City. And I mean, that just sums it up. She was a fucking idiot. And I love it. I love it so much. Chapter 6. Chapter 5 is pretty funny too. It's the leading up to chapter 6. Yeah, I wrote one of my favorite chapters of any book ever. I fucking laughed out loud several times the first time I read it, and I still do. But like the first time I read this chapter, I'm not kidding, I was like laughing, like belly laughing. There was a point where I was like getting teary-eyed from laughing so much. And one time I did like a reading like 1-star reviews of my faves, and I did it for this. And there were people that were like, "Ugh, that chapter was disgusting. Oh my God." I was like, what? It's so funny. It's about her losing her virginity. And it's, oh my God, it's so fucking funny. I cannot stand it. And yeah, anyways, needless to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this reread. It took me slightly longer this time just because I was like annotating and like underlining things and writing a couple little notes. But most of my notes were just, ha ha ha, funny. Oh my God, ha ha ha. Like just over and over again. Anyway, okay, yeah, 5 stars. Again, obviously. I mean, I don't foresee this ever not being 5 stars. I love it so much. Oh my God. And I do believe that is all that I have currently. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are. I'm always happy when I see people say that they read City of Girls because of me and they loved it. And if you didn't love it, I'm really sorry. Most people, though, who do pick it up on my recommendation and my description of it do love it. Obviously, if you don't like historical fiction and shit, then like don't read it, but like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined and you have not already. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.